they saw the news show up and they're just like, wait, what? Like, this is real? Like, this is really going to happen. And you see their
people
faces.
Are paying attention.
Yeah, people, you see their faces change. Like, wait, we're in Fairhill and like people are helping one another. Like, I don't usually see that. There's like, right, someone shooting up around the corner. Like, wait, what? Like, this is here? And I'm like, this is here. They're just waiting for someone to lead it. Like, that's what it always is with humans. Like, once you shine your light bright enough, we're going to come to it like gnats.
Yeah, there's same thing happens with world records.
Yeah.
People are like, hey, the fastest guy is this. That'll never get broken. The minute somebody breaks it, oh, it's possible.
Yeah.
And all they have to see is that it's possible, and they follow suit.
Yes, I say this a lot too. Shout out to all the kindergarten teachers. They're the realists, right? Like, if you believe it, you can achieve it. Every kindergarten room, and at the time, you're like, oh, whatever. But as I get older, I'm like, that's all it is. It's just
really
belief.
is.
You just need to believe it. That's all you got to do. And everything works out as long as you're just believing it and taking action towards it every day. Even if it's baby crawls. Like, yeah.
Pretty much, man.
Uh-huh.
Now that you mentioned kindergarten teachers, did you have any role models growing up or any mentors, not even growing up, but just now, or that got you thinking the way you thought, making you conscious of your surroundings, of your fast brain?
Yeah.
Things of that.
So I when I was probably like 26, well, first mentor, first and foremost, is my wife. I met her in high school, and she was like, that was like my first feeling of like love in general, like someone caring about me and like doing things for me. Like, I didn't know that growing up at all, like at all. Like, so definitely her. She's definitely my like mentor. And she's just like the opposite of me. Like, you found your wife when, like, if you come together, you make the yin yang perfectly. Yeah. And then when I was like 25 or 26, I joined this online community called Vibe Source. And that's where I learned meditation, journaling. That's where I learned to just like community sharing, like with strangers. Like, there were challenges. It was all of these things. It was ran by a 6th generation Shaolin monk.
Wow.
Yeah, like diet. Like, I still to this day eat brown rice and vegetables for the majority of my meals. And like I joined that, did that for like 6 months to a year, lost 40 pounds, called all the people that I did wrong in my life and asked for forgiveness and apologize. Yes. All of that soul work, right? Man. I felt like I was going through AA, but like there's just like life AA, right? And I did all of that and just like had that like dark night of the soul moment, and then just made a pledge then to just do the opposite. And literally like maybe 6 to 9 months later, I just started We Love Philly. I was probably like 27, I'm 31 now, 28. Wow. Yeah.
There you go. What makes what you do hard?
Right now, what makes it hard is, and this just ended, so even though literally last week, but what made what I am doing hard is I was still trying to teach history full time and do We Love Philly at the same time. And I just made it to the point where now I'm doing We Love Philly and teaching it all day. So now I'm not a history teacher anymore. I'm just doing We Love Philly. That literally started last like Thursday.
What would you consider that subject? Life?
What, We Love Philly?
Yeah.
I would consider We Love Philly, I don't want to call it life. I would call it I would call it know thyself entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Right? Like, how can you learn about you and why you do the things you do in order for you to take ownership and to create your own way to profit from being you, right? And getting paid to just do what it is that you want to do. And you can't do that if you lack discipline. If you are mad, you're holding on to anger, you can't slow your brain down, you're doing bad things, right? Or you're in a bad environment and situation. So how can we equip you with that social and emotional learning to take that leap and to go do what it is, or at least explore, right? You don't have to figure it out at 18, but like you should be trying everything to see what you like and don't like. But we don't try. Well, at least in Philly, they don't try because of fear of failure, and especially with social media, fear of someone calling you out for it or saying something, and
scared to look like a fool.
Yeah, exactly. So how can I build your self-esteem to the point where you don't care because you know you're doing more than everyone else just sitting on the couch? Right.
Yeah. What was the process? How was that process and did you get any pushback on creating that subject, that class, We Love Philly? Because it's not something you hear every day. You know, a teacher just came up with their own curriculum and.
So my motto has always been do it until you get yelled at, probably because I hang out with teenagers all day. And I've always been inside of a school. So I literally just... Before We Love Philly, I brought a running program to the school and did that for 5 years. It was a long distance running mentorship. So like all of the administration were like, oh, this guy, like, he's just like, school's done. Everyone else is like burnt out. He's like running marathons with kids. Like, let him just do what he wants to do. So like, I love my school for that. They've definitely given me like the freedom to just like take the ball and run from it, run for it, run with it. But yeah, the pushback is always the things that I don't want to think about, but it's legitimate. Like where the permission slips, like where you got insurance yet, like all of the
details.
The details. But I've really proud of myself for putting together an awesome board for We Love Philly and like really doing the due diligence to like pick people who are all of my weaknesses so we can continue to make it better and scale it. That's going to be the next hard thing now that you say is like, how do I scale this, right? Everyone looks at me and they go, well, we can't multiply you. Like you're just like, go. What's next? Let's get it.
Got to create more of you or find another.
Yeah. So that's going to be my goal if, cause I already pledged, I'm not going back to teaching history. So
good for you.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. So how do I scale this, right? Right now, I'm falling back on, I have my teacher salary to teach We Love Philly, but like, what happens if I'm not associated with this high school anymore and I'm literally just We Love Philly, right? So yeah, that's going to be the tough thing. How do I scale it? Because another skill I learned was how do you run a nonprofit? Like I'm learning all of this as I go, and I'm constantly learning. So yeah.
Well, your track record seems like you'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you've accomplished so much. You've changed you've created your own subject.
Yeah.
You guys got a bus.
Yeah.
You played Santa. You've accomplished so much. What would you consider is your greatest accomplishment by far, so far?
It's going to sound corny, but teachers' greatest accomplishments are the students who come back and you see the change in them and they're like, yeah, well, I want to do this with kids, or I want to do this for the community, and I want to give back. That's the best accomplishment. Like, and if you're a young person listening to this, like go visit that teacher. Don't wait till you're like 25. Like go do it sooner, because that literally will like carry a teacher's spirit for like 3 to 4 months. You're just like, yeah, like, I brought that same running program to We Love Philly, and one of the running, you need like 2 running leaders for it. So I'm one of them, and a student of mine that graduated in 2014 is my other running leader, and he's just like volunteering his time because he knows what the program did, what I like did for him, and he just wants to just like follow in the footsteps. And
wow.
I
made another you.
Exactly.
Just about.
Yeah. So like that's going to always, I don't think anything trumps that, because you feel when it's genuine, right? This is a human life. Like I could grow We Love Philly, we could be international, but it wouldn't mean anything if the students didn't come back and say, yeah, this is what it did for me and this is what I'm doing now, and I thank you for it. And then, yeah, they're the moments you just like cry. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that where you would say you draw your inspiration from?
Yeah. And that, and being... The selfish thing is, for me, is being being that light, like I said, that I always wanted growing up, and I want that light to shine through for my family, right? I've never considered family as like a high value until the last like year or two, and I want to be that person that brings the family together. I know it's not my responsibility, but like I'm gonna do my best to say, hey, look, like we don't always have to be suffering. Like we don't always have to be like running away from where we are now because we need like relief from it. Like we can do this together and just do my best, I guess.
Yeah. Making those generational changes.
Yes, exactly. Stopping that intergenerational trauma. Yes.
And last couple questions. What would you say your tip is for making the world a better place?
If you're aware of it, be who you want it when you were a kid, right? Like be that. That's the one way for you to be able to justify all the bullshit that you went through as a kid and all the wrongs and all the not fairs and all the why me's, right? Like that's why, because you're supposed to be what you always wanted. Like that's the quickest way to justify and to be able to let go of all of that past bullshit, right? You cannot move forward carrying all of that weight with you. So if you want to be a good person, really look inside and say, hey, this is what I always wanted growing up. So since I always wanted it, and you already know because you've been overthinking about like what it would look like. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like you're like, oh my God, I wish for the day that this happens.
It's not like you're not aware.
Yes, you're aware of that. So go be that. And then you're going to have boundless energy. Like, I think that's how I can do what I do. Like it's just, you fall in love with the process because you're literally becoming the thing you obsessed about and you wished for when you were a kid. Like you can literally grant one of your childhood wishes by being that. So go do it.
Nice. Well, we've covered a ton. You said so many gems in this hour. Like it's an inspiration on some of the things that you've accomplished. I appreciate you coming on. Last thing we got is a scenario.
Okay.
So scenario is this mic is connected to every speaker in the world. Every speaker, whoever's listening, no matter where they are, can understand it in their language. What do you have to say to that person?
Go take an active role in your community. Go knock on your neighbor's door and say hello. Right? Go make those connections. There's a reason why you moved into that neighborhood or all of the synchronicities happen and you're where you're at right now. It's probably because all of the things you're looking for are probably right next door. So like go be part of your community. Go be active. That's what everything is missing, right? Like we all are craving that human connection, wanting to meet good people, right? You don't have to put on a suit and tie and go to a networking event. Like you can go network on your block. Yeah. Right. So go do that. Right. And go just put yourself in someone else's shoes. If someone were to knock on your door and you didn't know them, what would make you want to talk to them? If that's showing up with a pie with free food, you know what I mean? Or like, yo, I just swept the whole block. Like, what's your name? Right. Like whatever it is that would get you to like, be like, oh, thanks guy. Like go bring that, right. Give the love. And then you're going to get that in return. And that's going to be.
Plus, you'll feel safer.
Exactly.
Because you'll know the people in your neighborhood.
Exactly. It's an all-around come-up. Like how, And I try to tell my students all the time, but they're like terrified. I'm like, you never knocked on your neighbor's door? Like ever? No. Why would I do that?
What they used to do, borrow a cup of sugar and some eggs?
Exactly. Yeah. Can I get some sidewalk chalk? Like something. Yeah, she's watched me grow up my whole life. And I'm like, you don't know who she is? Like, no. Damn.
Well, words of inspiration, words of knowledge. I appreciate you, Carlos. This is great.
Thank you.
I can't wait to hear about the next steps, and maybe we'll catch up later and all the things that we just talked about come to fruition.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. That is it for today's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes where you can find all the links to the We Love Philly website and all their social media handles as well. Check out the show notes, see how you can get involved or donate to be a part of something bigger than yourself. If you'd enjoyed this podcast, subscribe to the show or just follow us on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review, or just share the show with somebody you think could benefit from listening. If you have an idea for the show or think somebody is worthy of being highlighted or an organization, please reach out and let me know through email at limelight@gmail.com or the following social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook at Limelight Highlight, and Twitter